You know that feeling, right? You click buy now on Amazon, and then poof. It feels like magic when a package just shows up on your doorstep the next day, maybe even the same day. But here's the thing, it's not magic. It's one of the most complicated, mind-boggling logistics systems on the entire planet. So, how in the world does Amazon actually pull this off? What is this massive, invisible machine of warehouses, airplanes, and crazy smart algorithms that makes it all happen so fast? Well, today we're going to tear it down and see how it works. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the foundation, their ground game. Then we'll look at how they basically built an airline. After that, we'll tackle that super tricky final mile to your house. And finally, we're going to get real and talk about the true cost of all this convenience. Okay, first things first. To really get Amazon speed, you have to understand this one huge strategic shift they made that, honestly, changed everything. So for years, Amazon ran what you'd call a national model. If the warehouse near you didn't have that thing you ordered, it might have to get shipped from, clear across the country. Super slow, super expensive. So they completely re-engineered the whole shebang into a regional model. They divided the country into 8 self-sufficient zones. And here's the genius part. Using predictive tech, they stock products inside the region where they think you're going to buy them before you even buy them. That just slashes travel time and costs. And to get your head around the scale we're talking about, get this. When demand exploded during the pandemic, Amazon literally doubled its entire physical footprint in just 2 years. That insane growth is exactly why they had to make that regional model work, and work efficiently. Okay, so the grown game is sorted, but now Amazon needed a way to conquer the middle mile, that long-haul trip between their new regional hubs. Their solution? Classic Amazon. Stop relying on other people and just build your own airline. Now hold on, quick timeout for a super important clarification. You've probably heard of Amazon Air, and you've probably heard of Prime Air. They are not the same thing, not at all. Amazon Air is the big league cargo airline with jumbo jets. Prime Air, that's the futuristic drone delivery thing that we'll get to in just a minute. And just look at how fast this all happened. I mean, it's wild. It goes from a top secret project in 2015 to a fleet of over 100 airplanes in less than a decade. They basically built a major airline from scratch in the blink of an eye. And to put that growth into perspective for you, by 2022, Amazon Air was already carrying a huge fraction of what giants like FedEx and UPS could carry. And these are companies that have been building their fleets for decades. It just shows you Amazon is not messing around. All right, so the package has traveled from a local warehouse, it's flown across the country on an Amazon jet, and now it's facing the final and by far the hardest stage of its journey. This is what everyone in the business calls last mile delivery. And think about why it's so tough. A giant cargo plane can move tens of thousands of packages all at once. Easy. But a single delivery van has to make hundreds of unique stops at individual houses, dealing with traffic, finding parking. It is a logistical nightmare. And yep, it's the most expensive part of the whole process. So how does Amazon solve this insane puzzle? With its own tech, of course. Using the power of Amazon Web Services, they built this tool called the Dynamic Delivery Planner. It's basically a machine learning brain that takes all the packages for the day and calculates the absolute best, most efficient route for every single van. And this is the really cool part. It adapts in real time. So if there's a sudden traffic jam or a storm, it just reroutes the driver on the fly. And the innovation is not slowing down. On the ground, they're rolling out over 13,000 of their own custom electric vans. And up in the air, we've got Prime Air. Their newest drone can drop off packages under 5 pounds in less than an hour. And that FAA approval they got in May 2024 to fly drones beyond visual line of sight, that is a huge deal. That's what's going to take this from a cool experiment to a widespread reality. So we've seen the incredible mechanics of how Amazon does what it does. It's truly breathtaking. But now we have to pivot and ask a much tougher question. What is the true cost of building this empire of speed? Okay, so now that they've built this massive delivery machine with all this extra capacity, Amazon is making a serious power move. They've launched a service called Amazon Shipping. This means they're not just a retailer anymore. They are now a full-on delivery company, shipping packages for other businesses and going head-to-head with FedEx and UPS. And they are not pulling any punches. We're talking pickups 7 days a week, super competitive rates. But here's the kicker. They're getting rid of some of the most hated fees in the business. No extra charges for delivering to a house. No extra fees for delivering on a weekend. For a lot of other businesses, that is an absolute game changer.
But this giant physical operation, built for pure speed and market disruption, it comes with some other costs, the kind that don't show up on a quarterly earnings report. Let's just look at the data, because it tells a pretty stark story. Since Amazon announced its big climate pledge back in 2019, its emissions from transportation in the US have just exploded. Air freight emissions are up almost 70%, and emissions from their delivery vans up nearly 200%.
And that impact goes way beyond just carbon emissions. In 2020 alone, it's estimated that Amazon turned out 599 million pounds of plastic packaging waste. You know, all those plastic air pillows and bubble mailers that are almost impossible to recycle. A report from the conservation group Oceana really put that number into perspective. They estimated that it's like taking a delivery van, filling it to the brim with plastic, driving it to the coast, and dumping the entire thing into the ocean every 67 minutes. So we're left with this really modern dilemma, aren't we? Amazon has built a system of almost unbelievable efficiency that gives us convenience like we've never seen before. But as we've seen, that very same system is shaking up entire industries and leaving a pretty significant environmental footprint. It really forces all of us to ask the question, is the magic of one-day delivery worth its ultimate cost?